Bloodline was shown arriving at the start of SmackDown, and Solo Sikoa was smiling. I found that really unnerving. It'd be like looking at a shark, and a shark smiling back at you. You'd be like, what the flub is going on? Also, hello, my friends, and welcome to Ups and Downs, the only wrestling review show that you need. That's not true, but in this day and age, we need big old marketing hyperbole, so I am telling you now, if anybody else has an opinion on sports entertainment, it's not as good as mine. I don't even believe that, but I've said it now, so let's take the finger of power, which is exclusive to me. What does that mean? Let's up those doubts. We did indeed get a big Queen and King of the Ring video to start things off on SmackDown though, and it was going to tie in, because it was time to coronate Nia Jax. Saluting has nothing to do with coronating. Nick Aldis was out here first too, and he was all like, man, I knew hiring and drafting Nia Jax to SmackDown was going to be a good idea. He was a little bit overzealous for my liking. It's like a parent that wants to live vicariously through their child. They're like, do it for me! Nia Jax then made her way to the ring, and everybody was telling her that she sucked. So she said, well, no, the fact is, I'm now the queen of the ring. So that is a very funny way to word that. She also confirmed that thanks to all of this, she now is the #1 contender and will take on Bayley at SummerSlam when she commanded the women's champion to get out here. And I need more of this from Nia. Keep using regal words. Bayley knew she had no choice because of wrestling rule number 14.8 that does state if somebody says your name, you must make your way to the squared circle. But this was actually a little bit of a ruse and a little bit of a trap, because before she could get there, she got beaten up by Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. Damn. Nia did look totally dumbfounded though, probably because she did not order this within her kingdom. When Piper basically mugged her off and said, you weren't going to be facing Bayley at Hot WrestleMania, which is what I'm now going to call SummerSlam, because you're going to be facing me, I'm beating her first. Jax was totally fine with this because she'll take on a broom at the pay-per-view premium live event because she will be walking away with the title. I'm just going to say this. Crowning Nia Jax was the best thing we could have done. Right now, I think she's really, really good. I kind of think that she could win this belt at SummerSlam, Hot WrestleMania as well. I've just got a feeling in my tum-tum. And look, I searched it, and I actually don't think that would be the worst idea. It depends how you did it. But this was super short, which is always important when it comes to wrestling, because less is more. Give it an up. Nick Aldis was then in the back because he had more work to do. AJ Styles was here. He was super sad after what happened last week, and he said, listen, man, I really would like some time later to address my future. And the big hint here was that he was done. So you could totally see what we were hinting at, and Nick was like, of course you can have whatever you want. I'm just going to give you a small spoiler. When we got to this main event angle, well, it was damn perfect. Bayley was also being checked on by local medical facility professionals. When Naomi walked in, it turned out she's not a very good friend at all. Because even though it was clear that Bayley was not good to go, Naomi was like, man, I'd really love a tag team match later. And Bayley agreed. Like, you shouldn't put this kind of pressure on her. She clearly needed some time to rest. I mean, what is this? Amateur hour? That didn't tie in. When WWE did the thing, man, does WWE love doing the thing. And in fact, they did two things. What? But it was Tommaso Ciampa versus Austin Theory, which means, of course, next week we will do Johnny Gargano versus Grayson Waller, and then we'll have the big tag team match between the two. And to be honest, you may as well give those championships to DIY. I mean, why not? Ciampa was doing all right too until Waller cast distraction, and no wrestler can handle that. But actually, this didn't help Austin at all. I mean, he did get a little bit of something, but then Ciampa kneed him right in the face. He then foolishly went for a dive, but totally missed, so Austin hit him with a neck breaker because he wanted to break his neck. And if you've been keeping an eye on this throughout 2024, good grief, a lot of people are trying to do that. Thankfully for Theory, we then cut to the commercial break, and it didn't screw him over, because he was still doing quite well, until he tried to roll. Once again, Tommaso just hit him, and then he finished him off with a DDT. Ciampa then grabbed his neck, because of course it had been tried to broken earlier when he went for the fairy tale ending, and Austin Theory was like, well, no, I don't want that to happen to me. So he reversed it into a suplex, and I tell you, he got a pretty good 1-2-ooh. He also then tried for the A-Town down, but that was also a failure, when they started chopping each other. When we got to the ending of this, my word, it was really weird. It was kind of like an episode of Saved by the Bell. Nice timely reference. Because Austin overheard the fact that Wade Barrett and Grayson Waller were yelling at each other, when Grayson started to say, listen to me, mate, the only reason Austin Theory is doing well right now is because he got the Grayson Waller up. That's when we cut to Austin, and it was like somebody told him a puppy had died. He was so damn upset. He also totally forgot he was in a wrestling match, and we already have addressed that when Tommaso was like, well, fine, I can see your bum, and he hit the most devastating move in all the sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up, and he got the 3 winner. I really did think this match was quite fun, though, while it was going on, and again, we should make DIY the champ, so we are going to give it an up. But when it comes to this finish, I mean, one, it was too silly even for me, but more importantly, WWE is just going way too overboard with distractions. I mean, we're going to talk about more later. So it's proper 2 + 2 = potato stuff, and I don't like the fact we keep teasing the breakup of A Town Down Under. They're so much better together right now, and at the moment, they haven't even really got to cooking. So in my world, that's a down. Nick Aldis was then talking to brand new NXT recruit Blair Davenport when Naomi walked in, and Blair was obviously annoyed about this. She's like, this is my... I was literally having a conversation. Where are your manners? Davenport also threatened her, so I'm sure we're going to be doing that match soon, when Naomi said, we'll worry about that later, Mr. Aldis, because me and Bayley want to take on Chelsea Green and Piper Niven tonight. Aldis then went Captain Picard because he did make it so. When LA Knight just walked in, and he had one solitary question: where is Logan Paul? Actually, before that, he also wanted to know if AJ Styles was retiring, so he was just a banner of questions. And Aldis, to every single one, said, I don't know about AJ, and as for Mr. Paul, he's at home. It really did make me laugh, though, because this was just exposition central, as it did feel you win. But here's the long and the short of it. We should get to Hot WrestleMania, and we should do LA Knight versus Logan Paul. And do you know who should walk away as the brand new United States champion? It's the damn law. Kevin Braxton also grabbed him as he was walking out of there when he was all like, Logan, I am going to be taking that title from you in a couple of months. We weren't even teasing it. We were going all in. When Carmelo Hayes walked into the picture, which means he's weird because he must have been stood right there, and he insulted LA Knight. So it kind of feels like we're going to do that match before we get to the pay-per-view premium live event, although actually that makes sense. Maybe Carmelo Hayes could win, and that way when LA Knight becomes the champion, you have a ready-made feud. Why aren't I on the booking committee? When WWE listened to the internet, and I would say good, I mean mostly it's good, but sometimes please do not listen to the internet. But rather than another video when Andrade spoke in riddles, he did have a match, and he was taking on Apollo Crews. Now look, we all knew who the winner was going to be here, but it feels like Apollo is actually going to be used again. So I was doing the dance of joy. I thought this was really good as well because Andrade started off by drop-kicking Apollo when he hit a belly-to-belly suplex. When he went to the top of the turnbuckle, though, again, we've already addressed this, Angel Garza walked out and he cast distraction. Now, we did get some context because we then saw a video from earlier in the day when Legado del Fantasma had gone to Andrade, and they were all like, oh, hi, Mr. Tranquilo, would you like to be in our group? Andrade just turned to them and said, no. And he walked off. I mean, why waste your breath? So these guys really need to watch Raw because he already turned down Judgment Day, and Apollo Crews absolutely used this to his advantage. Although he then got screwed over by the commercial because when we came back from the advert, Andrade hit a crossbody and he was back. They then just unloaded on each other, which sounds way worse than I mean it to be, when Apollo did boot him in the face and he hit a standing moonsault and he got a 1-2-ooh. Now listen, I love Apollo Crews, but this may have been the least climactic near fall ever. He was never going to get the W. Angel then tried to get involved. By this point, Apollo was mad because he's nothing to do with this guy. So he tried to stop him. That's when we got more shenanigans. What did I tell you? It just meant when Apollo did turn back around, he got smashed with the big elbow as Andrade hit his flipping suplex thing to get the 1-2-3. And if we hadn't have carried on from this, I would have been a bit like, man, I don't understand. But we did do. So originally, I'd written down in my book of ups and downs, but I've crossed that up, and I'm just going to give it an up, because I am intrigued, and I'm excited, and also, these two guys, they're just really, really good. Now, we did see Santos Escobar after this, and he kind of tried to talk to Andrade, but he barged past. So yeah, we're doing something here. There is one final skit later. Solo Sikoa was then in the back talking to the rest of the Bloodline 2.0 when Paul Heyman walked in. He was like, listen, Solo, I really need to know how I can serve you better. Heyman reminded him that even though Roman Reigns used violence, it was only after they had discussed it. Whereas when it comes to these three, they just seem to be violent for no reason. And if nothing else, before Roman Reigns comes back, they really need to get Cody Rhodes in check. Solo had an answer to that too, because he said, we already have this sorted. And Paul Heyman was like, well, who the flub is we? And I tell you, that's a very good question. This is when Kevin Owens' music hit though, and Sikoa looked at Paul and said, well, man, I hope you can hear that too. You need to sort that out. And yeah, this was about to get spicy. This is when we also saw Andrade and Angel talking in the locker room when Apollo Crews was back and he beat up Angel Garza. And again, this is when I crossed out that down because I was like, oh my gosh, we may be about to do something with Apollo Crews. I mean, it's been since like, I don't know, 1422. So I am going to be a positive Pete. and hopefully manifest this into something good. When we did continue everything with Kevin Owens and the Bloodline, this stuff is great. As Owens did thank the fans and made it very clear he did travel all the way to Saudi Arabia to have Randy Orton's back, and that's true. He was being beaten up by the Bloodline, and KO was there to help him. Friends. He also made a sly comment about the fact that in the King of the Ring finals, Orton's shoulder wasn't down for the 1, 2, 3. So even though it sounds like that was a mistake and wasn't meant to happen, down the line, it's absolutely gonna tie in. From nowhere, Paul Heyman then did walk out and said, listen, Kevin, I think we have some mutual interests here, as all these fans were chanting, we want Roman. Paul was like, trust me, out of everybody in the universe, nobody wants that guy back more than me. Paul then made it very clear that everybody in the original Bloodline does respect Kevin Owens because of all the wars they did wage. I was like, man, I tell you, I don't want that kind of respect. Do you remember when they tied him up at the Royal Rumble and hit him with chairs? I'd rather they spat in my face. That's not true, I definitely don't want that. He then compared all of this to Solo and his thugs. This is completely different, because they do not respect Kevin Owens at all, and in fact, if they had it their way, they'd probably want to kill this guy. So man, are we leveling things up. Therefore, Owens really has to stop what he's doing because you don't want to get on their bad side. At the moment, you are poking them with a stick. When KO is like, do you really think I'm going to believe you, Paul Heyman? After everything we've been through, if anything, you're still in charge, and this is just your big fun and games. He just wants the rest of the roster to fear Bloodline 2.0, and he will admit it as well. Sure, when it did come to Roman, Jimmy Uso, and Jey Uso, even though they didn't get on, because they did have all these battles, he respects them too. But when it comes to these new goobers, no way, they suck. Heyman then went totally crazy because he was like, listen, man, I'm trying to help you. I know your kids, you know my kids, and we ain't playing around here. I mean, seriously, I'm a Hall of Fame wise man. Why is nobody listening to me? This is going to end badly. And he was having such a meltdown. I was a bit like, Kev, I think you should listen to it. I think somebody then cut the audio because something weird happened, but it didn't matter because out came the new Bloodline. And at this moment, somebody must have called the Street Profits because they could side by side with Kevin Owens, and everybody got into a big brawl. Thankfully for Kevin Solo, they fought through the crowd, which means now we could have a tag team match. I do want to point out that Kevin Owens and Paul Heyman was so good here though, and Heyman doing this pseudo babyface turn is so good. When yeah, it was the Street Profits versus the Gorillas of Destiny, and because I am a wrestling nerd, I watch it going, man, G.O.D. on WWE TV, we are not in Toto anymore, Kansas. Tama Tonga has ever continued his mean streak because he was beating everybody up. When he tabbed in Tangaloa, that dude essentially did the same. Tama eventually got back and he crushed Montez Ford's rib with this big elbow drop. When in the corner, Angela Dawkins like, oh my gosh, my hand is getting quite warm. And he got the somewhat hot tag, I suppose, but a hotter one was coming. He ran wild and hit all the splashes as well as an enziguri. When Loa got the slap back in, he just leveled this guy with a clothesline. I think he forgot what wrestling was. Tonga was then beating up Dawkins as we cut to Paul Heyman, who looked absolutely terrifying, and he had actually gone and hid in Timmy the Timekeeper's area because he didn't want to get involved in this. It actually worked against them though because Tama went for another elbow when he totally missed, and this time Montez Ford's hand was just dripping in sweat. There was the hot proper tag. Ford took out everyone because he is so damn good at this, and Angelo Dawkins must have taken a med pack because then he was back in there. They hit the blockbuster and man, Tangaloa broke this up at the 1-2. Ooh, this was a fun match. The problem though is that just as Montez was going to go for the frog splash, he didn't realize that Tama Tonga had secretly tagged back in. So even though he had the pin, Tama was here, he hit that flatline finisher, and the G.O.D. got their win on their first ever television match on SmackDown. That did not come out as poetically as I was hoping. So really this did have to happen, and if I was going to make a guess, I would say in a couple of months they probably should be the tag team champions. I mean, that's how you get more steam under the feet of the Bloodline 2.0, and I am such a fan of this story. Just so damn interesting. Indy Hartwell then bumped into Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair backstage, and she was like, listen, you idiots, you've got an injured Candice LeRae. Jade and Bianca basically turned and went, we don't care, and they walked off. I'm getting worried about these tag team belts again. It's like WWE doesn't want to do anything with them. Please, love anything, do something. From nowhere, we then saw Michin being interviewed, and we hadn't seen her in ages, though we did tie into this AJ Styles thing, because they used to be friends, and is he going to retire? She doesn't know. When Nia Jax walked in and was like, why isn't everybody talking about me? I'm becoming a mega fan of Nia Jax. Michin got in her face because she doesn't care about this, so you know what we're going to do. We'll probably do a match next week and Nia can absolutely kill her as we do build all the momentum before she goes to Hot SummerSlam and maybe becomes the champ. Just realized I said Hot SummerSlam. I meant Hot WrestleMania. Ruined my joke already. When Chelsea Green and Piper Niven beat Bayley and Naomi. Now actually, I quite like this, because even though Bayley and Naomi are friends, they're not a proper tag team, whereas Piper and Chelsea are meant to be, so they should have the goods. They did. Chelsea sort of got whooped by the champion to begin with when Naomi tagged in there too, and she just beat Chelsea up as well. Now, if it's anybody else, I'd probably get a bit upset, but Chelsea Green is so good at her role, she's just super duper entertaining. They quite literally threw her over the top rope as Naomi hit a dive when they realised, oh man, we better go smash Piper Niven in the face too. So they did. They did make their fatal error though when they decided to hug, and somebody in the production truck was like, well, that's a great time to cut to the commercial, because when we did come back from the advert, surprise, surprise, the bad guys were now in control. It also allowed Piper Niven to do some beating up, which is important because of course she is going to get the next title shot. When we got some double tags, because she tagged Chelsea, but Naomi got the hottest of the tags, and like always, she was running wild. She was able to spike Green and hit the crossbody when she knocked Piper Niven off the apron as well, so she was totally cooking, and she hit that split-legged moonsault for a 1-2-ooh. Bad guys were then both on the outside, so Naomi jumped on her. By the time Chelsea Green got back in the ring, she decided to climb to the top rope, but you can't do that in 2024 if a heel is around, because Piper was like, nope, and she pushed her off. Bayley then wanted to help, but Piper just grabbed her and threw her into the Simba the Steel steps. When Naomi had taken her Phoenix down, she hit the rear view, and she had the 1-2-3. This is when Niven ran in and just absolutely wrecked her with a senton, and it properly did, because she grabbed Chelsea Green, she threw her on top, and these guys got the win. Honestly, in the last couple of minutes, Piper came across like such a beast, and once again, that was the idea. And look, it does suck that Naomi never does win, but sometimes you do have to do things for the greater good, and we need to warm Piper Niven up so she does feel like a threat. And again, sometimes I just search my feelings. I really enjoyed it for some reason, maybe because Chelsea Green and Piper Niven finally got something. Giving it an up. We then went full tease because we saw AJ Styles walk into the ring, and even LA Knight found him, was all like, listen, if what they say is true, respect. I mean, these two were enemies. Cody Rhodes also arrived to shake his hand, and they whispered something to each other when Gallows and Anderson were also here. So this was just one big love fest when AJ walked to the ring. I just want to point out that Styles was awesome here, and his promo was so morose in the correct way. But no one in their right mind would have believed that he was actually retiring, but as I've already told you, it was like when you go watch a romantic comedy. You just want to see the two leads get together, and here, I wanted to see Edge pretending he was walking away, and well, we'll get to it. It was also a callback to what Mark Henry did over 10 years ago, so why not do it again? I mean, if you didn't know, maybe it did get you, and if you did, it was just a nice walk down nostalgia lane. Styles also talked about the fact that he had taken on and lost to Cody at Backlash, and after chatting to Nick Aldis last week and Nikki saying he has to climb up the ranks again, well, he knows deep down in his tootsie toes, his body can't do that anymore. So I guess it's the end. So it means that Father Time has won, and also he's had a son that's just graduated from high school, and he has a bunch of other kids too, and all the time he has spent on the road. Maybe it's time to sort of bring balance back to the Force, don't know why I've said that twice during this video, and spend time with his family. Goodbye. AJ then asked Gallows and Anderson to come out here, and they were all like, oh my gosh, I love you so much, and they did a big old hug, and they did the too sweet sign, when AJ was also like, well, I can't leave without talking to one guy. Cody, get your butt out here. Styles was basically in tears at this point too, so fair play to that guy for absolutely smashing it. And he said to Rhodes, I just needed to look you in the eye, the person that gave me one of the best matches of my career at that pay-per-view premium live event. And listen, if that's how I go out, well, I think I've left a good legacy. And even though this was a big lie, actually it would have been true. AJ also had this great line where he said that SmackDown is still the house that AJ built, but he's giving the keys to Cody. Because I'm that guy. I was like, well, no, that doesn't make any sense. Last time I checked, SmackDown didn't have a lock. Rhodes then talked about the fact they had shared some very special messages after that match where he raised his hand and they started circling the ring when AJ Styles did a countdown in his head and he clotheslined him in. I was like, you damn right. The thing is, it went properly nuts because he took Rhodes to the outside as Gallows and Anderson have re-teamed with AJ Styles and they stopped security helping when he stood on Simba the Steel steps and he put Cody in the Stars Clash position, and he hit that move right onto the floor. I'm like, I'm sorry, how is Cody Rhodes not dead? That was totally brutal as well, and this angle was really, really great for two reasons. One, it's way better than somebody going Geet's title shot and getting one, but also two, it actually makes sense. AJ Styles has said, listen, I want another go around. He got told no, he can't be asked to make his way back to the top. So he has just basically assaulted the champion. So now do you know who's going to want their revenge? Cody Rhodes. It's great. Now, I'm sort of surprised because I have no idea what Cody is going to be doing at Hot WrestleMania right now. But if we do this at Clash of the Castle with the Scottish crowd who are going to be totally over the top, man, I just tell you, I thought this was really, really good. Couple of thumbs from me. It's absolutely getting it up. And I really enjoyed this whole SmackDown as well because, again, there was just so many little things like Apollo Crews actually being used that made me want to do the Dance of Joy Part 2. So I am going to give it an up. Again, we do need to get through that Clash of the Castle show. I mean, I'm looking forward to it, but what are the big matches for SummerSlam? Because I'm stupid, I really don't know. Maybe you do though, and you can let me know in the comments below. Before you like the video, share the video and subscribe, and click the video on the screen, which is ups and downs for AEW Dynamite as we talk about all the fallout from Double or Nothing, because all wrestling is great. Otherwise, have a great weekend, my friends. See you next week.